Three, two, one.
Am I live?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Will Rickson. Nice to see you all. Nice to meet you if I haven't met you before. I'm not really meeting you. I'm sort of looking at you through the internet, but I hope you're all okay. Enjoying your day. We are running for the first time in a while. We took a bit of a pause on the Advancing Learning cafes a little while ago, and we thought we'd just bring it back. So we're doing a Young Learners Festival, and it's kind of throughout the week, and it made sense to have just a little cafe in the middle of the week to catch you up with what's happened so far, let you know what's going on in the rest of the Young Learners Festival this week from Macmillan, just in case you didn't know about it and you'd like to know about it, really. So if you want to come, you can still come. It's sort of going on all week. It's you can register at macmillanenglish.com, and it will give you the information about all the events on there. But I thought today I'd actually just share with you a little bit about the actual talks that we had yesterday. So you've already missed a day, but we've got two more left on Wednesday and Friday this week. So I thought I'd just do a session to let you know what we learned yesterday from the speakers and what we can expect to learn over the next few days as well. So starting off, yesterday we had two extraordinary speakers. They were amazing, just a really safe couple of pairs of hands with teacher trainer. You can always expect good things from these people. The first one was Claudia Rey. She's based in Argentina. She's a prolific teacher trainer. She's been doing it for years. She's worked with Macmillan for years. She does a young learners online course for Nile as well in Norwich, the team in Norwich. And she's just very talented. She's always got lots of very helpful, practical ideas that you can just sort of feel them. You can feel her experience through her ideas. That's why we invited her. She did a session yesterday called Flying Colours Assessment as Learning, not for learning and not of learning. So not formative and summative assessment, but assessment as part of the learner's journey through the learner's journey themselves. So talking about self-reflection and using their own assessment of themselves to progress their own learning path and learning journey. Anyway, so in Claudia's talk, she had 5 different moves, she called them, 5 different things that you should do to help a learner have agency of their own learning and building that into a bit of a way of how they can learn themselves if they were to be without a teacher, for example. Not that they will be, but just developing these skills at an early age for later in life. And I'm going to just share with you a couple. I don't know how deep I'm going to go. It depends how much I chit chat, I suppose, but I'll just sort of sum it up a little bit. The first one was for me, this is an absolute must. It's sharing learning objectives or learning aims with the students. Now, this can be done at various different points in the lesson, the beginning or an interval throughout or at the end. I personally always did it at the beginning without fail. Otherwise, I'd definitely get a slap on the wrist if the objective wasn't on the board. But there was usually a communicative objective and a linguistic objective. That was for my school. But anyway, so Claudia was talking about generally having objectives in the lesson and referring to them explicitly throughout the course of the lesson and even in the next lesson as well. She gave some examples of how you might structure them. So you've got WALT, which is WALT, we are learning to, blah, blah, blah. You've got can do statements, I can do this, or what I did by the end of the lesson, I will be able to. And another point she had in there is depending on your group of students you got, you might actually involve them in the creation of those objectives. So reflect on the previous lesson and sort of negotiate with them where's a good place to go. That's maybe a little, bit more advanced and sort of stepping out of the mold and stepping out of the curriculum a bit. But if you have the flexibility to do so, why not? But in terms of involving them in the creation of the objectives, it might be you don't give the objective until the end of the lesson. And then you speak to the students and you negotiate and you feedback from them what was done during the lesson and what they've learned. For example, you've gone through 10 classroom objects, 7 pieces of vocabulary throughout the lesson, and it gets to the end and you say, what did we learn today? And hopefully they all say, we learned about these 10 objects, the desk and the board, etc., etc. That was number 1 move. The second move was to use checklists and rubrics for self-reflection at regular points throughout the course of study. So I'm not going to go into detail on this. You need to watch the talk. Next week, the video will be on our website, macmillanenglish.com, and you can see the talk then. But for now, I'm just giving you a little bit of a whistle stop. So she said, make it visual, use emojis to help them identify how they feel about a particular learning objective, etc., etc. Move number 3 was use the feedback loop. I'm just going to go through this quite quickly. 1, revisit the learning objectives. 2, the teacher gives specific feedback to the student about their progress towards that objective. Very specific, as specific as possible. For example, you need to concrete your understanding of these sets of verbs, or you need to conjugate these verbs correctly, for example. Then when the students have got those specific measurable action points, the third stage is for them to reflect and monitor themselves as they're learning. After they've done that, there comes a point where the teacher says, it's decision time. Do you feel you're ready to move on from these? Have you concreted these into your memory? Do you feel you're happy to move on to the next language item? If they aren't, you go back to stage 2, where the teacher gives more feedback. If they are, you go back to 1, you revisit the objectives, and you see where they can further improve. Anyway, she had a really I've just done that. The whole thing about the cafe is we can't show visuals. So I'm trying to keep true to form here. So there's no visual. She had a really great sort of circle that showed it perfectly. I can't do that here. So I can't possibly do as well as Claudia under normal circumstances anyway. The 4th was incorporating self-monitoring strategies in exam practice. I'm not going to go into that. And the 5th was wellness and integrating wellness as a routine into the classroom. That was Claudia's talk. I strongly recommend you watch the recording of it next week. She's great. She's also got quite a few talks on our website as well if you want to see more from Claudia. After that, we had Pera Cortiella. Sorry, Pera. He did a talk called Personalized Exam Preparation Techniques for Young Learners. His talk was split out into the 4 skills, and it was absolutely packed with practical advice for helping the learners sort of progress through their own course towards an exam. Not really sort of explicit exam practice. It wasn't sort of, if they're a young learner, they need to do this, this, and this, and they can monitor their own progress. It was rather a really helpful sort of deck of exam practice activities for young learners so that they can do themselves, and where the teacher can slowly back away from the learning that's happening. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to zoom in on reading, and then I'm going to have to leave writing, listening, and speaking to your imagination. So with reading, he gave a couple of different activities. The first one was disappearing dialogues. So in quite a lot of exam tasks, as you might know, the students are asked to complete a dialogue. What you might do here is, before the lesson, write the dialogue in order, print it out for the students, or offer it to them in some shape or form on their tablet or on the screen or something. The teacher says the person who is A, and the students say the person who is B, and they go back and forth. So the teacher says something, and then the students respond on forum with the next line in the dialogue. The next time they go through it, the teacher erases a few words from the dialogue. They do it again. The teacher speaks the dialogue, the whole thing, without, obviously they've got to fill the gaps, and the students do the same thing back. You repeat that, and you keep removing words until you end up with 0 dialogue, and until the dialogue is gone, and the students are basically having they're running half the conversation with you. That was a really great idea from Pera. I wanted to share that with you now. Another way to sort of progress from that is the students might just do it on themselves. You might pair them up, or put them in groups of even numbers or whatever, so they can do A and B together. Anyway, it's just the idea of memorizing these dialogues and making them, firstly, helping them with the language they're developing with that, but also making them feel they've got that ability and they've got the agency to actually have pretty good conversations in English. Jumbled up dialogue was his second in the reading section of his talk. So this is the same sort of exam task. So if you've got a dialogue that you're looking to teach the students or help them solve a gap fill from a dialogue, for example, you could print the dialogue out, cut it up, then in pairs together, they work to rebuild that dialogue. And you can cut it horizontally or vertically, so you could cut it line by line. You could cut it, maybe sort of sentence chunk by sentence chunk. Anyway, that's just another way that you could sort of utilize that dialogue task to build on their linguistic progress. There's loads more. Pera just taught. I couldn't possibly keep up with that in this cafe because he was so full of energy and knowledge and experience, and it came across so well. It was the first time we worked with him. I was really, really glad that we did. I can't wait to work with him again. Anyway, if you want to see the rest of his talk, reading, writing, speaking came next, and yeah, I recommend. Anyway, so just really quickly to go through what we're going over for the next couple of days. Tomorrow, we're continuing the festival with Sarah Hilliard and Anna Parmojewska. Mojewska. I hope I got that right, Evelina. My colleague, my Polish colleague, Evelina, was helping with the pronunciation, Anna. I hope I got it right. Anyway, so Sarah Hilliard is doing a talk called Respect, Inclusion, and Empathy to Enhance Group Learning. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So the talk will be looking at group management, how to help students form dynamics when they're working in groups that are respectful and enhance learning. I've never seen this talk given before, and I'm really excited that it's Sarah Hilliard delivering it. She's, again, another really reliable pair of hands when it comes to teacher training. After Sarah, we've got Anna Parmojewska, who will be talking about, I'm going to read the first bit from her abstract, just the first few words. Ready to turn grammar drills into writing thrills. I think that says it all, and it's a really jazzy way to start an abstract for a talk. So she's talking about how to integrate the development of grammar in a learner via creative writing tasks. That says it all. That's happening tomorrow. Sarah and Anna are tomorrow. Then on Friday, we've got Ross McGill and we've got the Eltonics pair, Sarah Smith and C. Steele. Ross McGill is going to be talking about cognitive neuroscience and the working memory. It's sort of a beginner's guide for teachers to help them help their students work on their long-term memory and help firm up the knowledge that they're passing on and the skills that they're practicing into their long-term memory with explicit instruction and rehearsal to maximize the potential of their memory. The first time working with Ross, and we approached him because he's done talks around cognitive neuroscience for years and an authority on the subject, and I really can't wait to see that talk. To close off the week, we've got Eltonics, Sarah Smith and C. Steele. Their talk, again, it says it all, being curious about cultures through project work. That is, I think that says it all. For me, that's three kind of buzz areas for me that I think teachers at the moment have got a real interest in. Curiosity and help and in getting students curious to enhance their sort of engagement and motivation to learn. Culture and using the classroom as a sort of, what do you call it? A mirror into the a window into the outside world and get them to learn more via the texts that are used to learn. And project work, which is obviously it's extremely popular way of teaching, and they are combining these three things. So we've got curiosity via cultures in a project work scenario in class. Anyway, I hope that sounds interesting. I can't wait. We're day one down, and we've got two to go. Register now at macmillanenglish.com. You'll see the recordings next week, but if you want to get them first, you can register and we will send you the recordings next week as well. You can do what you like, of course, but I strongly recommend joining us. We have a lot of fun in these things. So yes, see you soon, if not tomorrow. Bye, everyone.